and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Serve it without a crumb of Asakad. I am your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes. You know I love a good pew 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 pew.
We got some pews.
And Citrus Smash for everyone. Paul Satachet.
Yeah, Paul is back. Finally made it out of the pattern buffer.
I'm back. My hair, not so much, but
not so much. But we're
here.
No,
my hair is definitely not back. So I don't. It's left it in the transporter somewhere.
I thought you were going full Picard.
Just full Picard over here. But tonight we're not talking about Picard, although there might be some connections. Who knows? We're talking about Mirrors, which was directed by Jen McGowan, written by Joanna Lee and Carlos Cisco. But just a couple of reminders before we really dig into our thoughts here. Paul, how can people engage, find ways to share the shows with friends?
Sure. I encourage all listeners to subscribe to the podcast at Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love, dislike, hate our content, and you like to support us anyway, consider joining our Patreon for just $2 per episode at patreon.com/StarTrekPod.
You got it. You did it. And Clyde, how can people hang out, get our attention if they're joining the live stream this evening?
Well, if you are watching us live, then you just need to make sure that the aperture is wide enough for your messages to get through in a pulsing fashion.
You got to do a hectagonal proton torpedo alternative.
You're not
why hectagonal? Never mind.
Don't matter.
No, if you are watching us live in the pod, just feel free to type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat, and we'll take a look at your question, your comment, your concern, your random musing. And in a moment, when we get to that special time in the beginning of our show, just type capital H, capital F, capital HF, and we'll take a look at your overall thoughts from the show.
Indeed. And if you're a member of our Patreon, you can also leave us a message from the menagerie telling us about what you thought about this week's episode or even last week's, and we will share it on the podcast. I think it is time for us to jump into some of these thoughts and feelings. I think it is time for some... It's time for some hot breaks. Paul, what did you think of this episode? We haven't heard from you in a while.
Oh, well, as I was watching the episode the second time, I realized that I know one of the writers. I know Johanna Lee. I taught her how to dance at her wedding.
That's
not
wild.
at her wedding, for her wedding. So yeah, so I was
small world.
Oh, small world indeed.
Wait! Time out. You teach dance, Paul?
I met my wife swing dancing, and so. And I was like Data before, when he learned tap dancing, and eventually I got better enough to, kind of help someone shuffle through a wedding dance. So I think my wife met her at a writing group, and we had a couple dinners, and then, I kind of just showed them how to dance a little bit for their wedding.
Paul's got so many hidden skills. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, hidden.
Man of many talents.
Yeah,
Sorry,
continue.
So what did you think of your friend's episode?
Yes. Good. I thought it was good. I like the ISS, I thought they'd bring it to Spock, because of old Trek as opposed to Saru, but it's whatever. It's all good. What else? Yeah. I like the flashbacks and finding out about the Breen, so that's interesting. I'd probably want more Breen, but because it kind of was halfway before they started doing the flashbacks. But yeah, good,
nice. Clyde, thoughts?
Wow, I love the backstory, kind of the origin story of Locke and Maul, and understanding them. They're fully fleshed out 3-dimensional characters to me now. I have a new feeling toward Locke that I didn't have before. And I have to say, all of our musings the last couple weeks about the Breen kind of sort of ruined it. Yeah, I mean, I love a good conspiracy theory and a Myrriah's theory of the week. But when
Flew
it's
too
all
close to the sun.
it was a little too close. Like I was thinking, man, if I had not thought that it was going to be the brain in the helmet, if that was a complete surprise to me, how awesome would that have been? But yet, when it happened, I was like, yeah, already felt like I already knew that. So,
So it sounds to me like
delightful.
you're saying, Clyde, that Myrriah ruined Star Trek forever for you.
It wasn't
All of Star
Myrriah.
Trek.
No, it was a
No,
writer from Trek Central that Jesse
yes,
shared the theory with us on the pod last week.
It sounds to me like you're
But I
saying,
have been
Clyde,
posing the brain as the big
that
bad.
Myrriah has ruined all of Star Trek,
no,
not just
yeah.
Discovery, but soon to be Academy and all. Anyway,
Yeah, that's
classic
the
Myrriah.
vibe. I
Classic
But
am the
other than
Myrriah.
that,
ruiner.
I thought it was a good episode. I think I'm higher on it than most people for some
Mm.
reason. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Like I enjoyed the like Romeo and Juliet aspects of Maul and Locke's relationship. I thought there was some fun like literature referentials and I'm really excited about the Breen. I'm like, it could just be because I hate trolls on the internet, but I love when Discovery messes not messes uses canon in this way to and adds to canon in ways that I think some people wouldn't be. I feel like people get mad when Discovery messes with canon, and I get really excited about it. So,
Like what canon did Discovery mess with?
well, we're going to talk about it in just a few minutes. There's some Breen lore and as well as the Mirror Universe ISS. It's not really messing with anything. It's like they're answering questions that have been left by canon. And I feel like sometimes people get mad when Discovery does that because they're whiny babies on the internet. But first, let's share some hot freaks from the chat and messages from the menagerie. From Bruce here in the chat, we have, I was hoping for a hot minute that Ethan Peck with a goatee was going to walk on the ISS Enterprise bridge. I also was hoping for that, but it felt like too much time had passed, but it would have been really fun. Some messages from the menagerie. Karen says, I'd say I still enjoyed this, but was my favorite of the season. Locke appears to be a real sweetie under it all. It was nice to get their story finally. Everyone was right. He's a Breen. I wonder if this will come back. The third life sign was the clue, ? That slipped really fast, but it was definitely said verbatim. Solid up though, and stunning pulling out that ship out of the wormhole / aperture. Keenan says, I like the Breen reveal. For some reason, the events on the ISS Enterprise didn't impress me as much as I thought. I'm trying to reconcile the timelines for how Enterprise got there with what we learned in Myrrah, Terra Firma about the Terrans. I have answers to these questions. I'm really excited about research. We'll get there.
And like just to answer, it wasn't 3 life signs; it was 3 quantum signatures.
Yes, 3 quantum signatures. That is correct. That is correct. Okay, so let's start at the top of this episode. We have Burnham and Book kind of setting off for this adventure, and Raynor's sort of a little unsure of taking the helm. What are our thoughts and feelings about this seeming push pull?
Like for me, like I feel like they haven't decided who Raynor is.
Yeah.
Like I think, and I can see that in like I don't know if he would be really that gun shy. Like
Yeah, I'm like, you've been on the helm for so long as a captain. I mean, I guess it's like weird when you're taking over with a new crew, but it's like at this point.
Like I could see like maybe there was something in the last episode where made him second guess himself because Burnham's methodology worked best, and he goes so far as to say, I recognize that if it wasn't, your methodology is what saved, the day, kind of thing. But like I don't know if it was anything happened so big that made the cut that made me go, oh, he is now doubting his ability to lead this crew. I don't know if I see that. So
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like schizophrenia right now, but that's because I'm missing some connective tissue.
Yeah, I'm hopeful we get like maybe another piece of his backstory besides just like I had to captain through the burn and you don't know what it was like, or like, so tell us what it was like. Give us your Wolf 359
Yeah. I will say that, like, not to like future cast, because like I don't want to ruin the universe for Clyde, but
Thank
like
you.
they made a big point in the last episode that like he has Burnham's codes, right?
Mhm.
So I wonder if that's going to come into play later. Like
Potentially.
because there's no reason to really do that unless it's going to do something. But who knows? What do I know? I'm just
Apparently one of the writers. So what do you know, Paul?
Yeah.
well, fair
What do
enough,
you
fair
know?
enough, fair enough.
I don't know. I look at Rainer and I think
Messed up ears. Like,
you said it.
you look at Vulcan like a dog bit a Vulcan's ear.
Whoa! Shots fired across
Shot
the
fired.
bow.
That's right.
No, I think what I came across was I love the fact that he was resistant to her going
Yeah.
for so many reasons that made sense. Once, her and Book, she is vulnerable to Book, right?
Oh yeah.
Like if nothing else, just her going, I didn't understand why they didn't bring somebody else. Like that just would have been helpful.
I think she's like, I don't need a third wheel on me trying to figure out what my feelings are towards this man right now.
This is not good captainship. This is not
No.
good.
I think it's a little, it's like a little like, we have this mission and I have a personal mission. She's, two birds, one stone, if you will, emotionally.
But here's the deal. If Book wasn't already compromised, then I might be okay with that. Like if they were just going to pick up some ice or linear chips or something like that, then I'd be like, cool. Right. But
this fate the universe. And she knows that like if it gets messed up, the Federation dies. And then she's still trying to get,
I'm just
saying.
I'm just saying you could have easily
not a good captain, bad captain.
Brought along
bad captainship
somebody.
Here.
Right.
I will say I'm really missing Oo and Kayla this season.
Very much.
And I'm like, now they've shoved them onto the Enterprise for a portion of this. I was like, I hope it's because they're like #booked and blessed. And so they had to work around their schedules. Because otherwise I'm like, what is going on? What's happening? Where's my bridge crew?
As a result, every time they pan and do a close-up or a almost close-up of these new people, there's a part of me that's just like, stranger, like get off my bridge. Right? Like you're just
welcome,
sitting,
but like why? What's going
on? I also think
I never realized that you guys were such gatekeepers.
Yeah,
yes, 100%. Obviously,
yeah, there you go.
Like for the most gatekeepers.
Wow, it's so interesting. I did not expect that. Wow, learn something every day. I had to go to a pocket universe to figure that out, but like whatever, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Also, what I think with the Rainer is, I think there's a bit of him that has realized the ship doesn't run like he's used to.
His ship,
and like it's not like this. Discovery is different. Sure. And his last 2 times where he's been left, trying to help people, it hasn't actually like it's they've made it through, but it has been anything but smooth. They don't really like him yet, or nor do they trust him yet. Like they think, wow, he's capable, but man, he's not that guy.
But now with the citrus mash, baby.
Yeah, I do feel like they did a fairly decent job of using, I think, our science off, our Tilly, our Stamets, our Adira to sort of bridge that gap between, I think, the rest of the crew and Rainer. And, I always like our science team up little crew. I think they are always fun when they're on screen together. I also really liked the Tilly and Culber moments in this episode. I was hoping we were going to get that as kind of our larger C plot this episode, but I think with the flashbacks, it was a pretty dense episode. Yeah. But I understood why these are like so many pieces that we need to get, I think, at this halfway point in order to move us forward with the rest of the season. So I understood it. But I was hoping for more, and I really enjoyed their bar wrap-up scene at the end. Who I don't know if y'all noticed, but there was a Morn at the edge of the bar.
Was there?
Morn, yeah, there's a Morn. I was like, I see that. I tip my hat to you.
Like I didn't know Morn lives forever. Is species live forever?
I mean, I don't think it is Morn, but it's someone who looks just like Morn.
Gotcha.
sitting at the end of the bar while Linus plays piano.
Why? I mean, at least I'm glad I don't think they said Reds this episode.
Yeah, they didn't throw that in our
It's
face
just,
this time.
it doesn't seem to fit. Like every time I hear it, I'm just like, who decided that was going to be the name of the bar? It's just, I don't know. I
Yeah.
was looking for something like Quarks made sense to me. Like I got it.
Maybe that's the name of the guy behind the bar.
Yeah, but I don't know him. He hasn't been introduced to
Oh,
us.
I guess there's at the memorial slide at the very end, the person who the episode was dedicated to, their nickname was Red.
Great. Now I feel like a jackass.
Well, no, you shouldn't feel like it. You just are.
Thanks, Paul.
No
But
worries.
okay, that's a nice nod. We do love when we name things after people
Okay.
we like as crew members.
Completely changed my opinion.
Yeah, but don't worry. But you're right, Clyde. Let's change it to like Discovery Forward.
Yeah. Reds it is.
Reds it
Tip
is.
my hat. Yeah, makes sense.
Good job, Reds. Okay, let's talk about the Breen reveal. I know it was like I think a little spoiled, you said, for you, Clyde, with the theories that were going around, but it felt like they were really laying into the Breen, like all of the references, the Breen being the ones that took over the Federation headquarters in the future jump. I felt like it was definitely coming, but I do still think the reveal of Locke as Breen was interesting and cool.
And it added a level of intrigue and complexity that there's this dynamic within the Breen. So Locke wears this face that they have these two faces, and there's this, this dynamic of like, why would you even wear that face? Like it's almost like that's disrespectful to our culture. That dynamic was interesting, and I was like, wow, we've got a whole new species to explore. And I think the way they're giving us the Breen is much better than what, say, Strange New Worlds gave us the Gorn. Because the Gorns are just monsters. Like, I don't know that we're ever going to get backstory on the Gorn and understand their culture other than they're just ferocious people eating velociraptors.
I mean, Lower Decks gave us a Gorn wedding. Like, get it together, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, but like this was interesting to see the dynamic of their culture and to see like unfolding. It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
I don't know. Like for me, like I feel that like I definitely want to see more Breen, simply because, like, in Deep Space Nine, they had the coolest ships. Like they were really crazy in a way that, like, oh, this is pretty awesome. Like it does kind of speak to the fact that, like, in 900 years, you've never seen a Breen without, their getup.
Helmet.
Yeah, and that stretches it a little bit for me. Like, it doesn't seem like really believable to me. And for all the mystique that, like, one of the things that was really interesting in DS9 was that like Breens don't have any blood. And so when I saw Locke leaking, green goo, I go like, oh, maybe that's not blood, but it sure looks like blood.
Well, I wonder if this has to do with them being in that kind of phasey, almost like liquid gooey form version versus a solid state. And because the uncle character, kind of made the point of like, why would you be that version of you when this is the superior version? So it seems like he's chosen to be mortal almost.
Yeah, it's
for
like
love.
I mean, is it like the Breen are like pre-changelings? Like that's why they have the suits on to keep their when they're jelly bean, jelly form.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm fascinated to learn more. I feel like they didn't overload us, which I appreciate, because I think it would have been too much to be like, here's the entire backstory and the lore of the Breen. I feel like they gave us enough. I'm excited to learn more. I think the Breen is like a really fun species to get to like jump into in this series, especially with it being a jump into the future, so they can also kind of like really play
Sure.
with what's going to happen with them.
I will say, like, to go against Clyde, as I always must, like, I feel like this, this episode has like made me go, I do not like Locke and Maul. Like,
Oh, interesting. It
yeah,
does feel very
Why?
juvenile. Their relationship
yeah,
does feel very juvenile.
exactly. Like, I feel like
Hmm.
they're like, Hollywood styled crack addict, like, destructo couple. Like they all just seem kind of like crazy, and I just want to have fun, and like blah blah blah. And I don't buy this like gamma quadrant colony that she, it just
Well,
feels.
yeah. I mean, that's obviously a dream that she knows is probably not real, but she has to believe it's
Oh
real
no,
for
no.
her
What I'm saying is,
sanity.
I don't believe that the person that they're constructing wants that. Like it seems a hodgepodge.
I don't think she wants it either. I think she's had to tell herself she wants it because that to her was that symbol of stability.
Okay, like I don't even
But
know if she wants stability. That's what I'm saying. Like
oh,
I don't like
yeah.
all that there was a way to focus the characters for me. This was not the way for me. It like yeah, like Nicole says, like they feel like angsty teens in a way that I go like, oh, this is uh this just
Yeah.
feels a little not
It's
what I like.
very
It's infatuation. It doesn't like it's a little bit rushed. Like I get it. My take on it was that neither one of them have had very many relationships,
no.
and they
Yeah.
kind of and they're both a little bit. I mean, dare I say, a teeny bit broken, and they found each other, and it seems as though they are accepting of each other's brokenness,
Mhm.
and
I like that.
therefore giddy, just ridiculously
Yeah.
giddy and careless,
I
right?
think it'll be very interesting. I feel like Locke is very invested in the love and the relationship because it is what essentially saved him from himself in some ways and
Mhm.
like the destiny he thought he had. Whereas Maul, I think, has come to terms with what her future could be and has lived through enough that she's like, anything could potentially be better, but I don't think she'll give up her freedom for. I thought it was very interesting. Essentially, Locke was like, I would give up my freedom to stay with her.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she, I do not think would make the same choice. And I
I,
feel like we're probably heading in that direction. Is that
yeah.
choice is going to be put in front of them and there will be a split in some way.
Like,
But
so by that, you're ruining Clyde again. Like, Maul's gonna leave.
probably it feels very Romeo and Juliet, and I wouldn't be surprised if Locke ends up having to sacrifice himself for Maul in that way, and then ultimately Maul also finds her death because that's how Romeo and Juliet ends.
Sure.
I do not think there's a happy ever after for Locke and Maul. I don't. Whether that is one dies, both dies, or they have to go their separate ways, because I agree with you. Ultimately, their values, but I think that's what happens when you've got this angsty teens like
Mhm.
relationship, is that when it comes down to it, you're infatuated with each other and you love being around each other. But is it truly built on anything substantial, like your values or what direction you're headed in or what you want out of life? And I think when it comes down to it, you're right. The question is, what is Locke ultimately looking for? He's kind of looking for redemption within the brain culture,
Right.
right? And acceptance, right? Like if his uncle had been like, oh, so well, she's cute. Who is she? Like, let's talk more about this.
Yeah.
This whole thing might have been gone differently. But to your point, Maul is looking for something completely different. She's looking for freedom. She's looking
Mhm.
for a place where she can just be without what seems to be this constant fear, or preservation.
Mhm.
Like her mother died when she was 14. She looks and moves like somebody who's been on her own
Yeah.
since 14 and is looking for a place where she can not have to look over her shoulder. that is probably the most important thing to her, that sense of like safety and peace. He grew up in a palace as royalty. His vibe is different. So I do not think they're going to end up together.
Yeah. I desperately want to moisturize the wig that they have on this poor girl all season. It's just all I can think about when I see her on screen.
Well, it's probably because, like, they're couriers and they don't have access to all the luxuries that the Federation has to offer.
I get it. It's just every time I'm like, oh, choices. Normally I'm very into all the costuming choices on Discovery, so it's just like a thing that stands out to me. I wanted to talk about kind of our standoff and on the ISS, and then also I was like, this is a terrible thing to say, but it was like the aperture. My spouse is like, it's like a butthole in space.
I was waiting for somebody
like,
to say it.
It's all I could think about after it was said to me, and then it couldn't go away, and then I just kept giggling at everything because I am a child.
It's puckering.
Anyway,
yes,
it was. I've seen way too many John Waters films. It's my life is in shambles, and I'm a disgusting human. But I was just like, man, space butthole. I'm so sorry.
That wasn't my original thought, but the minute you started explaining what you thought it was, I was like, I know where this is headed.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
This is what you guys were doing when in the opening, where you go like, oh, my aperture is expanding. I go like,
the first thought I had was like, oh, it's like a camera, like you do this and it's the camera aperture. And that's why they keep calling it an aperture. And I fully understand it. And then my spouse said, oh my God, look at the space butthole. And I went, no.
Well, I originally thought
it is called Discovery.
Me of. I was thinking DS9 when the wormhole opens, only instead of like just once, it just keeps doing it over and over again. That's what I was originally thinking.
Totally. Anyway, I was gonna ask
Myrriah, grow up.
Never. What did you think about the ISS Enterprise reveal? Were you excited? What were some of your like immediate thoughts upon seeing that's where we were heading into?
So for me personally, I was extremely excited because I think one of the interesting things about Star Trek is that there's still so much like that we can discover about like the Enterprise, because what they've interestingly done for us is they've given us the original Enterprise and then they skip to like D. And so the thought that you not only have this other Enterprise, but you've got a Mirrorverse Enterprise too. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. And it is like, are we going to see somebody? Is somebody still on it? Are we going to see, we're going to hear a captain's log about something? Like there's a lot that I thought they could do. So I was super excited. And, the fact that they brought it out and they're flying it back to Federation space is like very cool. So I was excited when I saw it.
I was excited, and then I felt like they did nothing with it, and that made me very sad.
Oh, well, I have some pushback because I feel like they tied up like multiple episodes and multiple timelines of Trek in this episode, which I thought was...
Please continue, Myrriah. I've set you up. Spike it.
I will spike it. Okay, so full credit where credit is due, but Joshua Patton over on CBR has a really great overview of every time the ISS Enterprises come into play and sort of how all of these things connect. And so sort of the summation of that is that this episode fully tells us the fate of the Terran Empire, which we knew fell from crossover in Deep Space Nine, right? And humans had become oppressed and ruled by Klingons, Cardassians, and Bajorans. And the beginning of that was really the revolution that was started by Mirror Spock when Kirk told Mirror Spock it only takes one good man to start a revolution. So obviously that's the beginning of the revolution, which then was continued by Action Saru. Which it's so weird to not have Doug Jones in an episode. Anyway, I just realized we didn't get him at all this episode, and it makes me sad. Continuing. So from crossover, this now allows the Enterprise, it would make sense for it to become this home in space for refugees. And then with Dr. Cho, the nice kind of wrap up is that this is a Terran refugee who then becomes an admiral in Starfleet, and Starfleet loves a second chance. So this episode tells us not only was Spock's rebellion, Mirror Spock's rebellion, successful, it spawned a larger rebellion which crossed multiple ships. And then the Enterprise ended up in this portal as this crew tried to escape the Terran Empire.
Like, I don't. Successful is a really hard thing. Like, it sounds to me like here's this oppressive empire that, like, it's moving towards democracy, and then it gets eaten up by Klingons and Cardassians.
Right, but you have these ships that have, like, there's a ship. We have a successful portion of people who've managed to escape.
You understand how that seems very Pyrrhic, right? Like,
Right.
like because there's like,
I'm not saying it's a perfect bow wrap up. I'm saying these plot questions have now been answered.
like, yeah, no, I guess, like, like, for example, I wish the Enterprise looked different. I wish there were more things that were Terran in them. Like if they had to go
Well, yeah,
through.
they're obviously just reusing the Strange New World sets, but
Yeah. And if there were like Terran protocols, like, oh, here are some killer droids, like they get like, oh, you'd have used this space in a way that, because right now, aside from that narrative, like, it could have literally just been the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And he goes, how did the Enterprise get here? I don't know. Blah blah blah. It's so you brought it from the mirror universe for a reason. And I think they tried to wrap it up with the story at the end. I didn't really love that story, but, like, it's not like I know the writer or something.
But anyway, that is like the very short version of, like, you should just go read Joshua Patton's full article, which explains it much better than I just
Thank you,
did.
Choopy. I do. I would love one of those.
A what? A Tantalus device?
That's a deep cut in, so, like, for do your homework, everyone who is curious about that, but that would be great. I love myself a green button.
We need a green button. Okay. So that's my rant about the mirror universe. I agree. I wish when we had that moment when Burnham was, like, looking at Spock's station, that there had been, like, I don't know, a little video pop up of, like,
sure, love it.
of
Exactly.
Ethan Peck in a twirly mustache,
And a goatee, right?
Yeah, so that
No,
she could see even in the mirror universe, like, her brother still, like, kind of did the right thing in a weird way.
Well, yeah, I guess, like, I would have loved that. I would have preferred it to be more Spock based, but I understand why they made it Saru based.
Yeah.
But for my sense of lore, I would have preferred that.
I get that. Do you think Book was successful in putting any doubts in Maul's mind about what they should do about the blood, whatever, the thing that makes it so everyone's hunting Locke?
No.
No,
I
I think it was the most ineffective speech soliloquy in all of Star Trek. Like, because her mind's already made up, right? Like, you're not getting to her. Like, at least the way that it's being played right now.
No, I agree with Paul. I think in this situation, their needs, again, going back to what their central need is very different. Book is looking at this as like, I lost Quajon. I lost every piece of family that I have. And then because I was doing something boneheaded, I lost the love of my life. And so he looks at Maul as this opportunity to get family back, right? She's not interested in that. She doesn't have this sense of, I need family. Again, she's been on her own since she's 14. Her view is probably, I don't need anyone. I can take care of myself. I'm good on my own. And so what she's offering Book, Maul's not interested in that. And so as he's saying, hey, come trust me, she's like, no, out here in these streets, you don't trust anyone. Like, I don't know what your game is, but I don't trust you.
Like, imagine, like, you have, like, real father issues, and then like basically your father's protege goes like, "Hey, do this."
He wasn't a bad guy. Like,
I mean, like, who's good? Like, I'm not gonna listen to that person,
Nah.
and I'm not nearly as angry as Mom.
I'm with you, Paul. I'm not nearly as angry. But if somebody came at me and told me, "Hey, your pops is really a good dude," I'd be looking at them like, "How?" Explain
Or
this.
like if someone goes like, if I'm so upset at my pop, and someone goes, "Your pop's really a good dude," what it really says to me, like, you're sus. You are super sus. That's what.
Or I guess here's the other thing is, and having seen some of this, I'm not getting into my backstory too much, but like, there's a sense of it's not fair that for you, Book, he was a great mentor, and for me, he abandoned me, right? Like, it's one thing if you can look back and go, well, my father was a jerk from beginning to end, but to think like, oh, my father was a jerk, but then
Only
the
to
new
me.
baby comes, yeah, and then the new baby comes along years later and they get it all right. It almost makes you more angry at your father and angry at the person who benefited when you didn't.
I'm
So
also like, what was he protecting them from? If he's just like, it seemed like the whole like universe at that point was kind of a little disjointed and scary for everyone. So it's
Sure.
like, what does it actually mean to protect your kid if you're like, I'm gonna just abandon you?
Well, like to be fair, like it could be that the father like basically did this dangerous job where everyone's gonna get him, and he's making money and he sends money home. I don't know if
But
that's the
did
case.
he send money home? That's the other
But
thing.
young Maul would never know, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying like you have who Book thinks Cleveland is, and
Right.
who Maul thinks Cleveland, and they don't necessarily align. So like either the original Cleveland Booker was a very complex individual who had like like the Orions, a heart with 6 valves, or
Again, this is where a short trek would be great because I would love like a Book and Cleveland Booker short
sure,
trek episode.
sure.
agreed.
And
I wonder.
like all I know is that I imagine Cleveland Booker is probably like really jacked and ripped, and like Clyde would go like, "Oh man, I thought I was into Book, but boy, I'm into Cleveland." that is the body that I want.
I mean, you gotta have goals.
Goals.
You gotta have goals. Like when I break out my chin up bar or my
Mhm.
shake weight, I look
A
at Book
shake
and
weight.
go, just shake.
Oh, Clyde.
No, seriously though, I wonder if the original Cleveland Booker was actually a good guy that Maul never got a chance. Like maybe you mentioned a dangerous job. Maybe he was a spy, right? Maybe he was a double agent,
Or
and
maybe he had a Star Trek podcast that was very controversial. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, absolutely, Clyde. I mean, he could be. It's one of those things. Like Maul, like because I don't like Maul as a character, the same way that you didn't like what's his name,
Shaw.
Shaw. Like I can't see her like objectively. She's a little
I get
brat to
that.
me.
I do think Burnham probably did more work and changed maybe an iota of the mind of Locke, because I think he is looking for a way to actually exist in the world and not always be on the run. What did you think of Burnham's attempts there?
I
Well,
think like I think Burnham can be convincing
Yeah.
when she sets her mind to it. I think like she speaks from empathy, and and ultimately you could tell that like she believes what she's saying, and
Mhm.
she gets it, like she can see that Locke really wants to be with Maul. That's all that matters to him, and she kind of uses that, right? In a way that is like, I'll advocate for that.
Yeah.
Like like that's and she might believe it in the time, but come on, like this guy is
Right.
about to.
Well, she knows she can't be like, oh, absolutely not. Like she's
Well,
trying to change this guy's mind.
but at the same time, like here's this guy who goes, I would rather die than like not be with my girl. That's his opening and only stance. That's a
Bonnie and
non-negotiable.
Clyde, baby.
and, and like and Burnham goes, yeah, I can have, but she has no power, no jurisdiction whatsoever. Like and she goes like, but I really need that piece because
I mean, one, I thought, I mean, Burnham's talking to him, but I don't know that she was really listening, right? I didn't understand why she wouldn't let him go to the bridge. Like, he's concerned about his woman. Like, I get it.
But she needs that piece.
Yeah, she needs the
Right.
puzzle piece.
So she can't let him leave the room without that piece.
She knows if that piece leaves and they are together, they are gone, which is true. As soon as they are together, they are gone.
Sure. But it did have a sense of her telling him whatever she felt he wanted to hear to get what she wanted. Like,
yeah,
like you said, Paul.
And she got it. Yeah.
She did. Like,
after stabbing the dude.
Yeah, she's been more convincing before, but like she was just trying to get what she needed.
Well, like I would definitely say that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if like Locke later in the season basically goes, we need to settle down. We need just to hide and be together. Because like for all of it right now, like,
and she's gonna say no.
And she's gonna say no. Absolutely, she's gonna say no.
Well,
but like
you guys don't think Locke's dead?
No, I don't.
No, not from a little stabby stab. No.
I mean, he looked like he was losing a lot of blood.
Breeds don't have blood.
I mean, there was something oozing out of his chest.
Exactly. Like like this was just to clarify, the reason why I know that Breens don't have blood is because they couldn't do blood tests in Deep Space Nine for like for for changelings because Breens don't have blood. That's what they said. Dr. Bashir.
Thank you, Dr. Bashir.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the two of them really shake out, because I could see it going a number of ways, whereas like maybe one of them dies, maybe both of them die, and like, is there a redemption arc for one of them, or is it just I'm gonna continue to be a free spirit in the galaxy?
Also, here's a hot take. So, and I don't know, but like if I were a Maul and I was Locke, I don't know if I would be on that transwarp pod. I would try to get onto Discovery because that's where all the pieces of the puzzle are. So the only way you're really going to get to the puzzle is to be on the ship. Let Discovery collect all those pieces, hide in some Jeffrey's tube, or I don't know how they're going to do it.
I mean, they got past the Trill security, so they can apparently do a lot.
So whatever it is, I would do that. Get like once it's all assembled, get it, steal it, bam, go to the Breen, and like give the Breen the super weapon of like like this life factory. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so. Arthur David in our Slack channel made a good point the other day that said, I've been behind and just watched Face the Strange. They're making a mistake made all too often in movies and TV. After getting the second clue, if they want to keep anyone else from getting the tech, that all they have to do is nothing. Go back to Federation headquarters, lock the clues up, and better yet, destroy them. Then do nothing. Let the progenitors' tech remain lost to history.
Yeah. No, I do believe in that. There's no need to have it unless you're afraid that someone is going to find it accidentally or somehow, and then all of a sudden
to the point of you destroy the other clues.
Well, no, let's say you destroy all the other clues. Somewhere in the span of forever, someone might just come across like a planet with and then now they have the greatest power in the world.
Yeah. Do you think it's just hidden on a planet though? I think it'd be really funny if it came all the way back and it's just like chilling somewhere on Earth.
Yeah, no, like maybe like it could literally be anywhere.
Or on our Vulcan Romulan combo. planet.
I would laugh if it was stuck in the space butt in the pocket universe, the space colon now, and now it's forever sealed, so no one can get it.
Great.
Boom.
Done.
Well, to your point, if
what
they
if it's
had,
on the ISS? Sorry.
Yeah, no, well then it's going to Federation headquarters then, right?
Mhm.
well, what would have been interesting is once they found that the kind of the aperture, if they had just locked Lull and Maul and
if they locked up Maul and Locke.
Mhm. just like destroy the aperture right there so that they couldn't get out, which means that the clue couldn't get out. Like, then no one would be able to get the next clue, and it's done.
But
Unless
I
someone
think
just
they
stumbles
now
on-
want to find the tech. I think it's not their mission isn't to protect it from not being found. Their mission is to find it before they do.
So there are two things here that I struggle with. One, kind of going back to the conversation between Locke and Burnham. Burnham's talking to him like the Federation's got some credibility. And he's looking like I don't know this Federation that you're talking about. You're talking about
Right.
like, oh, come trust us. Like, we'll be okay. And I think that's what they're looking at. And you're talking about, well, is Maul even thinking about it? It's like, no, like, you're part of this Federation. Like, I don't like they don't have the same reputation, the same credibility. And I think
That's fair.
likewise, I'm looking at this and we're going, so here's what we're expecting. We're expecting them to find this progenitor like weapon
Mhm.
and then give it to the most sus dude on the planet, right? The twirly mustache science guy, and be like, you know what? I trust you. And the new version of Section 31, whenever, like, the idea that the Federation is capable of holding on to this technology without royally destroying something, I'm just not buying. I gotta go. I think it's better to destroy it than to hand it over to. I like, I like Vance. Cronenberg is the most sus character I've seen in all of New Trek.
It's because we know what movies he makes.
if it's Osira or Cronenberg, you're going with Osira.
I probably am. Osira seemed like she seemed more trustworthy than Cronenberg. But like, I'm not trusting the Fed. I'm like, I like the Federation, but I don't know that I trust them with this type of power.
Interesting.
I mean, think about when we were going to the edge of the galaxy for the they couldn't like, yeah. Think about the dynamic and the backstabbing that happened and the like, I'm gonna hide on the ship and get like all of that. You're asking me to trust that group of people with the most powerful weapon in the world?
I wonder if Burnham is going to interact with it in some way, the tech, and say no one should have access to this, and then just destroy it.
Yeah, they could not figure out what to do with the DMV or the DMV.
The DMV.
Yeah, DMV is tough. It's a very dangerous.
That is a black hole to nothing, and time warps and space warps there.
It really
that is truly where time bends to be the slowest it possibly can be.
Yes, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I just remember the infighting and the disagreement, and then someone brought up Tarka, right? And the Tarka, like, that wasn't that long ago. That was like a minute ago, and you're telling me that they deserve this type of power? There's no chance, man.
Well, there's the other thing that I actually kind of bump on. It's like, what laws have Locke and Maul like really broken? They're on this treasure hunt, right? And like, it's not like
they haven't broken anything for the Federation, but the Breen have a big issue with them.
Yeah, but like, why is Burnham going? We'll take you in, and you'll go to trial for what?
They did kill Fred.
They killed Fred.
Yes.
Our
Ada's long lost great grandson. Yes.
My statement is
I guess technically they stole an artifact off of that Romulan ship.
Very good. Like, so why is that illegal?
Yeah.
because it's been derelict for like
I guess
centuries.
it's property that doesn't belong to them. I don't know.
Well, who does it belong to?
I'm not a Federation lawyer,
Yeah.
lawmaker.
Like I'm just saying, like, what have they really done? They haven't done anything, and
They did put a time bug on Discovery.
they allegedly
Ryan's right.
put
Yeah.
They
time bug.
killed that dude who sold them the time
Yes,
bug.
not in Federation. You know, it's not in Federation. Like they're not part of the Federation. So like I like I kill someone in Botswana. Like I don't go to like trial in like
But the
Ireland.
time bug, I think, is part of the temporal war. So they launched a war weapon on Discovery.
Allegedly, how would anyone prove that?
I mean, we all saw it.
You make some very strong points there, right?
I don't know. You know, Zora will be like, aha, here's video footage of it happening because I am Zora.
I mean, it's just one of those things.
That's
where
true. They almost killed all those people on the desert planet.
Yes, that was the first thing I thought of. Almost.
Not Federation, like, jurisdiction.
Well, that planet could be going after them, and they've asked the Federation to do it for them.
You make some very strong points. You're absolutely. You should be a space lawyer, Myrriah.
I should be a space lawyer. That is an actual real job, though. Did you know there's like lawyers that deal with like property law for space?
I do. Like, I'm one of them.
Wild.
No,
you're one of them.
No, I'm not.
You argue who has colonial rights of the moon.
Well, it's like one of those things, like Antarctica, right? Antarctica has a lot of people claiming Antarctica, and so there are treaties, blah blah blah, to what you can do in Antarctica, and it's kind of like space.
Freeze. The only thing you can do in Antarctica is freeze.
No, you can thaw out Atlantis.
Thaw out Atlantis.
That is a different podcast. That is a different podcast. Mike and I do that on Sundays. So if you want to talk about Atlantis, we can talk about that this weekend.
Wrong show, Paul.
Oh yes,
anyway.
Show. Wrong show. Right. Correct.
Wrong show. Anyway. I wonder. Oh, this is interesting. Humor's up. It's a red directive, so they can throw them into Federation version of Guantanamo.
That is the best answer. Like,
that is
but then why would they even go to trial then? If you're gonna go to space Guantanamo.
That's the biggest difference between the America and the Federation is you actually get to go to trial when it's the Federation.
My man Kern has been on fire tonight in the chat. For
truly
real.
On fire in the chat. Yeah. Anyway, this episode, it definitely hasn't been my favorite of the season, but I had no qualms with it. I think they had a lot to fit in. So, hat tip to our writers who had a lot of bridges to build for us here with the story. But any other major thoughts, feelings, opinions? Do you think we're really going to get into a big old God conversation on Star Trek? I mean, they do love having that conversation on Star Trek with our hints here about spirituality and science.
I do imagine that like someone's gonna die and whatever great power machine is gonna bring him back to life.
Zombies in space. Here we go.
I mean,
Saniqua going back to where she started. Sorry. I was like with The Walking Dead.
Look, I don't know. I think that there's some a ton of stuff to be revealed, yet to be revealed. I think for me,
5 more episodes.
5 more episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me, when I look back at this episode in particular, this is probably the first time that I thought that Maul actually liked Locke. Like,
wow.
I felt some general emotion. Like, for a long time, it definitely felt like he was way more into her than she was into him. Now I see it's more mutual, but it's one of those things where I think she really likes dating him and they get along really well. And she's like, that is my dude. But if he was to actually ask to marry her, I think her answer would be no. Like, she's like, I'm not ready to settle down. You're tripping.
I think she saw a relationship that was more of an opportunity than it was for love. And maybe it's grown into love, but I think for her it was, oh, if I can seduce this guy to be my inside person for me to do this Latinum deal.
Like, for me, I feel like So I feel like she really loves Locke. I think she really
Hmm.
loves Locke. I think you sometimes you just pick the person you love, but I think that she loves her freedom more.
Hmm.
I think that's like there is
Yeah.
you're the person I love, but I am this, and so in that way, I think that will be their downfall. But who knows? Like but
Yeah.
I do think I feel like they would die for each other. But Locke would live for Maul, and Maul would not necessarily live for Locke. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
I
just
agree with that.
what do I know? I'm just a old bitter space lawyer. I mean, not space lawyer. I don't know where Atlantis is. I truly don't know where Atlantis is, everyone. I promise, I
Mhm.
do not know where Atlantis is.
All of a sudden, people start swarming into your apartment to
Like,
take you down for talking about secrets on the internet. He knows too much. Oh no, Paul, where'd you go? He's gone. He's been taken to Federation Guantanamo.
Space Guantanamo.
Space Guantanamo.
Wow.
Anyway. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Remember, you can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple and Spotify. You can find links to all of our Patreons and other fun places to visit us on the internet at StarTrekPod.co. You can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Star Trek Pod. We will see you all next time. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Laters.